Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Game 2 of this best of 3 on Lerelak Crest ZVZ, and this is an elimination match in the WCS Winter Championship qualifier. Spawning in the bottom right-hand position, representing mYinsanity and currently on match point, it's Serral. His opponent, strong European Zerg player in the blue colours, currently teamless and hoping to bounce back in this series to make a good ad for himself. Ladies and gents, it's Zanster. Very good Zerg player. Promising young talent, currently teamless, looking for a team. Unfortunately 1-0 down at the moment. Very, very strong early game attack against Serral, being very, very sneaky, pooling those Zerglings. But Serral able to defend against that, and with 2 hatches against 1, could simply out-macro his opponent to victory. Zanster did his best not to make it simple, though. I mean, it was rather difficult, or at least took quite some time, and Serral had to be careful. But he was careful. Those roaches, those queens, the nidus, had the spore crawlers as well. You could tell Serral was of the mindset where he was thinking, in what way could I lose this game? Okay, I will counter that before it ever happens because I have an economic advantage. So Serral played that beautifully. This time around, though, we actually have a Serral with the much earlier pool, but it is just going to be a pool into hatchery so that he can get an earlier queen out and get those injects. It's not a super aggressive pool or anything like that. It's just making sure he's protected against another early pool potentially coming in from Zanster. And Zanster instead has opted to go for the hatch first prior to the spawning pool. So it's kind of 2 routes to the same goal. Economically, one player isn't really better off than the other, because the side that got the pool first, even though they have a later hatch, they'll have the earlier queen and the earlier inject. So as far as lava are concerned, it can kind of even out. Serral now going for a Baneling nest straight away as well, possibly just to be defensive. His Overlord has gone ahead and spotted that a natural expansion exists at least, so he knows there's not going to be some super crazy shenanigans coming out of Zanster off of one base. And he'll be able to move down and check out everything that's going on. Sees the location of the Overlords for Zanster as well, so knows approximately what he can expect to see. Now, 6lings versus 4 says that Zanster will have to move back here. But nobody losing anything at the moment. Zanster really just trying to sneak in 2lings to get some scouting information. Spotting that the Baneling nest is here and that there isn't some super early Roach Warren or something like that is also useful information for Zanster. He won't get there though, because unfortunately a couple of lings and a queen will stop him in his tracks in the natural. Now there are a good number of lings actually coming out for Serral at the moment. He has 14 lings and counting, and Zanster perhaps is not very prepared for this sort of aggression. This is actually just a speed timing. It's nothing like super crazy or anything like that, but surprisingly Zanster is actually being taken aback by it right now. Excellent Baneling hit allows a lot of these Zerglings into the main, and 24 to 21 workers in favor of Serral right now, even though these drones are constantly being drilled. This is very surprising. Zanster, I think, should have been able to see this coming a little bit earlier, and as a result, I mean, he lost a couple of workers there, and he's actually down 28 to 22 right now. He's got those 2 spine crawlers up, but really, if he, for example, was able to block off this ramp as the Zerglings were coming up, or maybe even just had one of them but slightly earlier, that would have been very useful indeed. His counterattack is actually doing a non-zero amount of damage as well, so he's looking to try and even the score a little bit, and he is killing off a worker or 2 to be fair, but the workers killed in this game 7 to 1 so far in favor of Serral. So you have to say the momentum here is with our mYinsanity player. There are, well, you know, they're technically identical in terms of supply. We have spent a number of minerals here for Zanster to make those 2 spine crawlers, so maybe a little bit of a late panic decision, and we've got an evolution chamber. That's what happens, I guess, when you skip the Baneling nest and think you can just about hold out through the aggression. But to Zanster's credit, he skipped the Baneling nest, he did hold out through the aggression, and now he's looking okay. So he's going down with the Roach Warrens, just going straight into that tech. And that's going to be slightly earlier than the Roach Warren for Serral. About 35 workers for both players right now. The Queen's in a good position to prevent those lings from popping by. And even though they will be able to kill off a worker or 2 at most, it looks like this Queen should be able to prevent these Zerglings from killing off any additional workers. And that means actually that that was rather cost ineffective for Serral, because that's a good number of Zerglings to lose. They still cost money even though they're cheap. So only killing off the one worker and sending in 8 to 10 Zerglings and having them all die isn't the greatest. Serral now going to be consolidating his third base by the looks of things, which is slightly earlier than Zanster's. Serral could see this with his Overlord as well, both sides going for the +1 missile attacks, and it looks like this game is at least slowly going to even out here. So that's going to be pretty chilled out moving into the mid-game. Serral looking for an opportunity to try and deny this third base, and he's using his Baneling Nest now to great effect, because he's saying, look, you can't defend this with Zerglings because my Banelings will just keep you running around all day, so you have to defend this with Queens, you have to defend this with your Spine Crawlers. So this Spine Crawler might end up here, for example, just to prevent that kind of harassment. And then, of course, that opens up the possibility of Serral to move links into the main. Roaches are now out, though, and these Zerglings will not be able to get too much killed, I want to say. It looks like 2 additional workers killed, and that's actually pretty decent, to be honest, because he was able to get out with these Lings as well and potentially continue the harassment against the third base. And all of this is distracting from the fact that Serral is already mining from his third as well. So in the Roach count, it's 9 versus 5 at the moment in favor of Zanster, but by the time these Roaches waddle across the map, of course, you will have an additional tranche of Roaches popping out from Serral. So that's not too much of a difference at the moment. These Lings still continuing to try and be as good value as they can. That was an excellent transfuse on an individual drone there from Zanster as well to prevent it from going down. And now it looks like, to a small extent anyway, Zanster is going Overlord hunting. Wow, in the longest possible way with this Queen, but hey, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. So that Overlord will almost certainly go down here, and we have Roach Ravagers popping out from Serral, getting ready to attack. He's at 62 supply right now, as far as workers are concerned. Just 1 or 2 drones short of Zanster. Very nice, managing to get Overlord hunting of his own with these Ravagers. He knows that there's at least 1 more Overlord here. Will he spot it? Oh, he hasn't spotted it so far, but there it is. And he will be able to get that killed off. Unfortunately, reaction just slightly too slow there. Ooh, and Baneling's trying to make a mark, but unable to do so. So, the players are evening out. Serral, he's about 10 supply ahead right now. They're both in the mid-60s as far as drone count is concerned. They both have +1 missile attacks. +2 is actually a bit quicker for Zanster, and he is getting +1 armor from the second evolution chamber as well. Now, if we take note, there's still only the 1 evolution chamber for Serral. Making those upgrades, and he's in fact going to be going for the Hydralisk Den. So he will be down on upgrades in a short while, but he'll be down on upgrades and potentially have a much higher DPS army. And that could make a lot of the difference here. We'll see. We have Tunneling Claws being researched by Zanster, so that's going to be pretty sneaky. We'll see how well that works out. And another Overlord getting taken down by Serral there on the offensive with those Ravagers. Upgrades are even at the moment, but don't forget, in about 30 in-game seconds, we're going to be seeing Zanster. Oh, well, this is Legacy of the Void. In-game seconds are real seconds, but we have to be a little bit careful here. And Serral, recognizing that the number of Roaches he has aren't quite overwhelming enough, successfully uses a couple of cheap shots from the Ravagers there to pick off any advances from the enemy forces. So a couple more workers being killed by that 3 Roach Rush. Up to 18 so far in this game. Doing a very, very good job. And it looks like the 4th base is going down for Zanster now as well. So Serral feeling like he's a little bit on the back foot for now. But if he can get a good number of Hydralisks together and use those Hydras to really ramp up his DPS and make a solid push towards the center, then I think he could end up doing a really, really good job. Zanster is using a single changeling to spot where the 4th base is going down, but actually we have Serral sneaky snaking his way over here to the bottom left. So keep an eye on that. We also have Serral now with the first 10 Hydralisks on the way. So when they pop out, what Serral does is going to dictate what happens, possibly for the result of the game, but certainly over the next couple of minutes, his advantage over Zanster is going to be the additional DPS those Hydralisks can afford. So we have the Jaws effect popping in here. You can very, very faintly see movement along the ground if you look super, super closely, but it's very, very difficult to spot there. A couple of Roaches from Serral looking like they're going to get, unfortunately, picked off there. And Serral has not seen these sneaky Roaches now moving up the ramp. into his third base, and he will spot it now, or rather his natural expansion. So this is going to be a problem for him. He's actually moving back with his entire army. Dear, oh dear, and it's a huge delay to his ambitions, unfortunately. These roaches are doing a good job of splitting between the bases now as well, picking off Queen where he can find them and just doing a number on as many drones as possible before they go down. He also sees the composition of Serral right now. He spots the Hydralisks, knows that that's going to be a problem. These roaches burrow, but unfortunately they burrow right underneath an Overseer, and that's not going to make a difference. In the meantime, these roaches here are still doing an absolutely fantastic job killing off so many of these workers, and they could actually sneakily burrow. And we have the rest of the army from Zanster as well, moving into the fourth base, successfully picking that off too. And have we got Zanster? Oh yes, Zanster unfortunately also spots the bottom left at the same time, and he has 5 roaches there. All of those drones are going to have to drone drill rather, and Zanster is looking like he is comfortably in the driving seat here, but the supplies are still even. It's 190 to 190, and Serral still has a huge army. It's just that he's being split into about 12 different locations. I'm really surprised, actually, that Zanster didn't keep 5 roaches out, because he has seen the creep. He just hasn't spotted it on his mini-map. I wonder if he just hasn't spotted that yet, but he can keep Serral confined to 3 bases right now, even though the supplies are equal. And Zanster has a fantastic opportunity to go even in that series if he prevents Serral from ever getting that mining done. Another group of roaches popping in to the mineral line and absolutely devastating the drone count here. And he can burrow and tunnel out, I think. Overseer coming in to try and provide support, but the reinforcements are getting taken out by this bunch of units. Serral desperately trying to keep basically the balance of this game in check and hopefully find a really good opportunity to have a massive push. But Zanster's bank is 3,000 minerals right now. I think he's going to be able to take out the third base hatch if he wants to suicide these roaches as well. And this is such a difficult position. This hatchery has not had another worker there since the drones decided to make their exit, and Serral has to make something happen with this attack. That base is gone. Serral's effectively onto 2 base because nothing is mining there. This is where it's at. Baneling's coming in now, and is this army enough to potentially win Serral the game? He's got lurkers with this composition now as well, trying to get very, very serious about his ambitions to kill all of this off. But that's a good number of roaches. 3 lurkers and nothing. Okay, guys, lurkers are good, but can 3 lurkers and nothing else genuinely cause this game to get GG'd? I don't know. And all the meanwhile, so much damage is being done by these roaches back at home. And unfortunately, the Tunneling Claws has just been an inspired move from Zanster. There's the GG, and Zanster takes this series to 1-all. If Serral wants this series victory, he's going to have to fight for it in a game number 3.